You've worked with green screens a great deal, Spy Kids and Sin City and other things too, for sure. Was there a lot of that in this movie? It feels like there must have been.
Yeah, there was. I mean, we tried to do, Brad Payton, our director, definitely wanted to do as much in camera as possible. And but we still had, so for example, so we had a lot of really real elements to work with, which was helpful, but in the context of a green screen. So the helicopter was in a stage on a green screen, but it was on a gimbal that was many, many feet up, and that literally dropped, dove, spun.
Wow, so you're not 2 feet off the ground.
No, you're like, 25 feet off the ground.
Wow.
So that was definitely, and then the boat, some of it was on green screen as well. So there was a lot of green screen for sure. And I think the thing that differentiated it with this one was that we had a ton of previs in a way that when I was doing, where they were actually able to show us sort of what it was going to look like to some extent, which was incredibly helpful when you're responding to things, just to see what you're actually...
I suppose like in Spy Kids, that was created later, right?
Exactly.
You would do the thing and then
exactly.
A year later you see the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And go, oh.
And Sin City was so specific because we were going frame for frame from the graphic novel.
Right.
And then I've done various, blue and green screens on different things, but this one was definitely the most... This is the one... I have never done it to this extent since the technology has been as good as it is.
Right.
It is really astounding. And I think because we had a director that cared so much about performance, which isn't always the case with these kind of movies, it really made a difference in our performances, and I think a difference in watching the movie too. It feels much more viscerally connected.
Yeah. Well, and so... in the restaurant scene, when the earthquake, for and that doesn't give anything when the earthquake happens. That doesn't give anything away. So are floors crumbling around you? Are things happening around you?
So in that, did you see the film?
Yeah.
So in that sequence, in when Kylie Minogue and I are and that particular earthquake hits, so that was a stage that was fully built. And that one shot was orchestrated where there's a camera, a Steadicam guy and me moving through that entire thing, which is almost 3 minutes. And there were, as you saw, a huge amount of stunt people, background actors, people on fire, fireballs. And so basically things were added to that, but what was existent when we did it was the tables shaking, glass, chandeliers exploding, the fireball, all that swaying. So there was a certain amount to be able to really respond to, which was great. And then they can add more later, But there was something to work with, which was really helpful.
I wanted the floor to open up and just suck her down into it.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god! Yeah. No, it's.
I would have loved that moment if you just looked over and.
Yeah, totally, and she was gone. It definitely. I think there's so many times in this movie where you feel like the power of Mother Nature, basically, and the fact that how unpredictable it is and how small we are within that.
Well, you grew up partially in California.
Yeah.
I'm assuming near an ocean. You must have.
For sure.
I grew up right on the ocean. I grew up looking out a window at the ocean, and you get this sense of how kind of insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things. Did you feel that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I lived in Big Sur, which is a landscape that definitely makes you feel that way. And I did live in Malibu, and so I feel very much. We have this kind of. I don't know, human beings can tend to be arrogant at times and think, oh, well, we can kind of control everything. And it's like, and then Mother Nature just goes, not so much, But yeah, and there's something kind of, to me, philosophically, I don't know, relieving about being such a small part of things, because you do realize that we're just this little bit in this bigger, much larger tapestry of life, and yet how resilient human beings are.
You were living in New York when 9/11 happened, and I've read where you said you went to bed. The buildings were there. You woke up in the morning and they were gone. You could see them out your bedroom window or your bathroom window or something. This movie, everything disappears.
Yeah.
And did you draw on that kind of moment because it must have been. I mean, I think everyone. That is sort of the defining kind of thing, perhaps, of our generation, right? The Kennedy assassination of our generation, and so I just wonder if that is something that you do sort of call back to when you're making a movie like this, which has similar elements.
Yeah, I thought about it a lot during the making of this movie, actually. I think I thought about it a lot in various ways. One, in the way that, Dwayne Johnson's character and my character reconnect in this movie. And what I found so smart and well done was that they reconnect not in a cliche way or in a sentimental way. They reconnect because they may not be alive the next day, and they know that. And all of a sudden, in those moments, and it was very much the case with 9/11, when that happened that morning, you realize you want to go help people, you want to be with the people that you love, and you want to not sweat the small stuff. Like, you think, it contextualizes life in such a radical way, and you don't ever wish for those kind of events to do that. You don't wish that you would have to have that kind of event to do that, I should say. But yet, sometimes we do need something that is that drastic. So, and also that you find everyone's coming out of the woodwork to help each other. People are in their best versions of themselves. And I think that was the other thing that I really loved about this movie when I read the script, was that it was about people coming together. It was really about this family that had been terribly fractured and may not have been able to heal, and somehow this event brought them back together, And so so it was very resonant to me because of that, for sure. Yeah.
It's interesting too, I think, the reliance that we have on cell phones and on sort of all the stuff that when it's taken away from you, how you have to think. I think about 9/11 again. I was here, but my girlfriend was living in New York, and I couldn't find her. I couldn't get in touch with her.
So scary.
So scary on the day, and it was during the Toronto International Film Festival. This is just a kind of a random story, but during the Toronto International Film Festival, and we mostly canceled everything except in the early part of the day when no one really understood what was happening yet. A few people came in and we did some interviews and things. And Adrienne Shelley came in and she said, we were talking, and she was from New York, and she said, for some reason my cell phone is getting through to people if you want to use it.
Wow.
And she let me use her cell phone, and I got through.
And did it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was just random, right? Who knows why or what towers it was pinging off of. But, there was that moment where you just feel helpless because the stuff that we rely on is taken away from us.
That we take for granted, that we think is just there for us.
Yeah.
No, it really strips everything down. And it's that thing where it strips, it's very primal. I think that's the reason why, you kind of want to, people want to connect. It's just a deep need for connection.
Yeah. In this movie, sometimes in movies of this kind, the female characters aren't treated very well.
Right.
They are the
reactionary
wives who cower in the environment.
Right.
That's not really the case here.
Yeah.
The women are very proactive.
Yeah.
They are very as much a part of the action as the men, in particular in Dwayne Johnson's case are. That must have been something that kind of made your ears perk up a little bit.
For sure. I mean, my character, Emma, and Alexandra Daddario's character are both strong, resourceful women. And kind of what I loved also about it for me is that I have played a lot of, Dwayne's character is a rescue worker, and so that character is somewhat skilled in that. Not that anyone knows what to do under the circumstances of the movie, but is that I've played a lot of cops and U.S. Marshals and contingency analysts and people who are theoretically equipped to deal with the situation, right? And what I loved about her is that she is a human being. She is a woman in the world who is smart and who has no training for this. So she's terrified, but she's also smart. She's going to figure it out, and she's going to take one step at a time. And she certainly partners up. They definitely balance each other in terms of the male and the female as well. And so I was really excited that this was a movie that just women are smart and complicated and capable and all those things. So it's nice to have a movie that doesn't have to sort of box, put them make women smaller than they are. And, that's something interesting, actually, having done this for so long, that I've been noticing lately, is I really do think that is where a lot of these the fact that Jennifer Lawrence and Shailene Woodley, like a lot of these stories now, young women are at the center.
Wait till you see Mad Max.
I know. I'm really excited to see it.
Like it should have been Mad Maxine.
Yeah.
It's about her and a tribe of these female wasteland warriors.
So cool.
Awesome.
I am so excited to see it. Charlize and I spent some time together at CinemaCon in Vegas, and so I got to hear a lot about it, and I will definitely be seeing that immediately. But I do, and I think that's the point, is that in the 50s, women did drive the box office.
Right.
And then, a lot of things changed. And I feel like we're coming back to the place where it's like, one does not preclude the other. You don't have to just have men kicking ass and women sort of being passive, because that's not something that women today relate to.
Yeah.
Women aren't passive in general, So it was a really exciting thing. For sure. I think Dwayne has such humanity. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he has this physicality that is kind of almost otherworldly, that most people can't attain, in combination with the fact that he is a really good actor and has this level of humanity and this kind of he really genuinely connects with people. Yeah. And when you're talking to him, he's fully present.
Looks you in the eye. Yeah.
And that in this business is rare. And I think it's something that on screen you feel it. And he's also his work ethic is impeccable. And I'm just to me, I'm a Virgo, and if I'm there to do something, I'm 100% in,
Yeah.
And so it's so nice to have a partner in crime who is that way and who has that same kind of commitment. And he's really funny, which is and
it is just a fluke that you're not becoming the new Laurel and Hardy or whatever.
Right.
It's a fluke that you've made 3 movies together, right?
It is. No, it's funny. I mean, we love to work together, but no, they've all come about in very different ways.
And they're different movies.
And they're very different movies. I mean, we met on Race to Witch Mountain, and then Faster came about sort of unrelated. I got offered the job opposite Billy Bob Thornton. We played cops, and we never actually share any screen time with Dwayne because we're chasing after him. And then this movie, I really fought for. I just really loved it. I wasn't even interested necessarily in a disaster movie or a big action movie, or I like them and they certainly would be interesting. But I think I was just so compelled by the humanity, and I really was. I was really taken with kind of how this movie would function absolutely fine if it just delivered on the obvious levels.
Right.
But the fact that there's a level of it really moved me. And then when I knew he was playing that role, I thought, oh, he'll be so good in that. And and then it came about that did end up happening, and I ended up doing it. And so the fact that we do know each other and trust each other certainly helped. But yeah, we'd love to. I mean, I'd love to do many more things with him. But yeah, this has just been kind of like kismet.
And a chunk of the money, this is our time, but a chunk of the money is going to Nepal. Am I right about that?
Well, they're definitely, Warner Brothers and Time Warner is matching all the Warner Brothers donations, and they are and they're donating a lot to Nepal. And also, there were always going to be public service announcements after the trailer and the film, and they were then really specifically geared towards Nepal, because obviously this is a movie that does not take Mother Nature lightly nor earthquakes lightly, that's for sure. And I think weirdly is about the triumph of the human spirit, which is I think what always amazes me at 9/11, seeing this terrible situation in Nepal. It's like the thing that you are reminded of is the resilience of the human spirit, and it's pretty amazing.
Has it made you? I don't know. Do you still live in New York?
I do. I live in New York.
Okay, so
I do, but I lived in LA for 20 years.
Yeah, you're going to move back to California.
I'm kind of one of those people.
I
know. I think because I travel so much too to so many crazy places. I think I'm kind of the mind of wherever I am. If it's my time, I'm going to go. So, so I don't think about it too much. But I do know, many people who I've been in a couple of big ones in LA, and they're intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Go, what do you do, under a desk or in the door?
I think the first one I ran outside, which is exactly what you're not supposed to do. That's a good thing about San Andreas. You actually learn some stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the whole doorway or under a desk or under Dwayne Johnson.
Well,
that's one of the advantages of his size.
Thank you so much.